So, for those who don't know, obviously we're working on a project together, which is a film, and there's going to be a lot of information in the film about you and also about the situation you're going through. But the reason why I want to talk to you today is because there was a video released that you put out with your family. I believe you released it right before New Year's, right? Something around that area. And you basically mentioned that, Body Engineers, which is basically the biggest clothing line in the fitness industry that you founded, is now being put on hold because of the situation on the partnership that's gone bad, basically, and you being extorted, your family is being extorted, and your partner Peter is trying to put the company down, right?
The last 6 months, we have been extorted by an individual who I will speak about shortly. For those of you that don't know what extortion means, he is trying to force us to accept things unwillingly. One of the threats being destroying me and my company, and the second threat being that I need to give him my shares for €1 or else.
And then, a few days after that, Kenny KO, a popular blogger, put out an interview with Peter, actually, where he's denying all the claims.
So as soon as I saw that, it kind of caught me in a state where I knew something was off. I've heard numerous stories about Tavi over the last couple years, and over this last week, I have spent hours upon hours texting and on phone calls with people who have either worked with him in the past, close relatives, anyone who has ever had anything to do with the guy, who are all very close to him. Many decided they wanted to stay anonymous, except for one individual who Tavi actually called out in his main video, being Peter.
My name is Peter Versluis. I'm the man where is Tavi Castro talking about, but Tavi don't tell you the real story, and I'm happy that I can tell the real story.
And so I wanted to hear from you, what's happening, basically, what the situation is.
Right. So I think it's important first to start from the beginning. Body Engineers has seen explosive growth the last 4 years. We've actually only been active as a clothing brand for 4 years. Before that, it was an online coaching platform. We've struggled to meet the demand essentially the last 3-4 years. Of course, it's a luxury problem, and we had plans to expand into America, essentially to copy our operation in Amsterdam into America to allow cheaper shipping, returns, things like that. So we were getting up into the 7-8 figure yearly revenues, and we needed an injection in order to fulfill those plans. So included moving our production out of China into higher quality European and Turkish factories. So that's the basis of why we decided to take on a credit line, an investment essentially, not to save a failing company, which likes to try to portray. It was for expansion. Now we had various options in the last year and a half for investment. And Peter, I met on a TV show together with a well-known kickboxer named Rico Verhoeven, who invited me as a friend on the TV show for charity. I met him there because Peter sponsored Rico for his fights. So the fact that he was from the Netherlands, which made it a lot easier business-wise, and he very much presented himself as a very successful, very rich person who was very excited to have any kind of contact with people like me and Rico. And of course, he started to make a lot of promises. And I really admired his enthusiasm. He really wanted to do that for Body Engineers and for the projects that we had. And this was last year around August. So I decided, okay, we'll choose you as a candidate to help us with the expansion. Now, right from the beginning, it started to seem very strange. Things were taking very long. Finally, when the contracts were being prepared, he was demanding more and more and more in terms of the credit line that he was going to give. He needed at least 1.5 million for copying the operation. We actually had a lease on a location in Dallas, Texas, in order to start the project. That was our goal, 1.5 million. So signed everything off.
He became your 50-50 partner, correct? After that situation occurred?
Exactly. So it was a 1.5 credit line, which he promised, in fact, to expand into more. And part of the deal was going to be, well, if he's going to be so involved and he's going to put money down, he should have, some kind of involvement to incentivize him, to make him really part of the project and not just the bank. Now, finally, everything was done, everything was signed, and of course, we started to execute the plans, which included, for example, making larger stock orders for 500 to €1 million, 500,000 euros to €1 million. Anybody that works with clothing production knows that it works with the deposits, and then you need to pay the balance before the factory ships it, unless you have some kind of payment plan.
Right. Of course.
Two things that we asked from this credit line. He did not pay on time, in fact, months late, and not enough. So we would ask, for example, for 460K, and he would give excuses. Oh, there was a technical problem. Of course, you have to remember, when you get a mortgage from the bank, you got to have the money on time to pay for the house. So this happened once. It happened twice. It happened 3 times, and on the 3rd time, it was a killer, because we had an order for 550,000 euros. And the balance of 350K needed to be paid immediately in May last year.
Mm-hmm.
Now, suddenly, there was no money. He didn't have the money, and he started to create excuses, blaming me for mysterious reasons, rumors, he would call them, as to why he was not transferring the line of credit. Now, for anybody that knows business, they need a legitimate reason with proof to not give you the loan that you already signed for. Now, of course, in my position, that gets a little bit nerve-wracking. I've signed privately. So it's not giving money in time in order to run our operation and do our expansion, and we get into liquidity problems, then in essence, he is in default. So there was no proof. What we have now found from sources, even within his own company, is that his own company is technically bankrupt. So what we think is he, in fact, did not have the money ready, the 1.5 million at least, and as we were asking for it, he failed to transfer it. We have all the proof, all the emails, all the transfers. If Mr. Kenny Cato wants my side of the story, I have a lot of paperwork to show him. It's he's in default. So
the guy Peter in the video claimed that he transferred you 1 million euros. Is that true or that's not true?
Yeah, that's true.
Mm-hmm.
But what's important to remember,
the other five wasn't transferred. Right. Okay.
Right, and the million that was transferred, it was not transferred on time, and it was not transferred in full. So you can see it as there was a transfer of 200K when we needed 400. There was a transfer of 250 when we needed 350. And there was a transfer of 300 when we needed 500.
Mm-hmm.
Now, when you're running a company that is generating revenues and you have marketing costs, operation costs, and you're trying to expand, that throws you into huge problems. If he didn't have the money ready, he should have told us, so we wouldn't have ordered so large. You know what I mean? So that threw us into huge problems with our factories, because now all our cash flow needed to go to factories instead of our marketing, instead of our logistics costs. So yes, he did transfer 1 million euros, but he was supposed to transfer 1.5, and we had to fight him to get the money on time, which gave us a lot of problems with our partners, with our influencers, with everybody. So it's very important to say, I gave you 1 million euros, but no, the deal was for at least 1.5, and it needed to be on time.
So is the company currently shut down? Body Engineer is not operational at the moment?
Right. So, sorry, what that led to in not meeting this agreement and being very difficult in being honest as to why the credit line was not being given to us, that led to threats of seizure, of taking over the company. He made a threat for bloodshed. It was like, we started to also find articles which he essentially had removed from Google from a very, very reputable source called The Quote, which is a magazine it's kind of like a Forbes in Europe, which actually covered the story in like 4 or 5 stories of him and his brother, where basically he had got his brother out of his family's company His father was a convicted criminal who escaped from prison 3 times. His house had been shot up. He had extorted people, like very things that if I would have seen them at the moment when I was going to make choose him as an investor, I would have not chosen him. But he had those articles removed, and all of a sudden they started to pop up, and people started sending me these things, and these, we got very scared. And of course, he took his power to seize our assets. They broke into our home, the bailiffs, but it was unlawful. He went to the judge with the documents, because in the Netherlands it's very strange. Here in the Netherlands, it's shoot first and ask questions later when it comes to seizure. So in America, Canada, first you have to physically go to court, stand in front of a judge, explain your case.
Right.
You can seize the assets and you can sell them. In the Netherlands, it's you seize the assets, and then afterwards, the other party has a chance to submit their information. So we were not defaulting. We were paying all our interests on the credit line. There was no mismanagement. We had actually paid 40,000 euros back, which we didn't even have to pay back already, just to leave room for the credit line. And that's when all the really harsh threats started to come in, and we started to feel we might lose our company.
So I know you have a court date coming up on February 5th, I believe, right? What is the outcome you wanna happen on that day? You wanna kind of remove him from the company so you can operate again? What's gonna be the result that you're trying to achieve?
Right. So the case is actually about an unlawful seizure. So, like I said, in the Netherlands, we did not even get a chance to speak to the judge before he was able to seize everything. So because he seized the bank accounts, he seized the stock. Of course, we went offline, and that of course holds anywhere between 30 and 40,000 euros of damages per day. And we've been offline since December. So the first court case is to lift the unlawful seizure.
Mm-hmm.
So he has seized the assets in a way that is not even beneficial to him, because now we cannot sell, which means we cannot pay him back.
Of course.
So essentially, the situation is really, you give someone money, and I'm a painter. I make paintings to sell and to pay you back, but I give you money and then I chop your arms off.
Right.
It's not in the benefit of any of the creditors, DHL, our influencers, Body Engineers itself, where he's actually a shareholder in the company. So it's a completely unlawful seizure. He used that power in order to extort a deal that he wanted, more money than what he put in. And once that seizure is lifted, we will do another court case in order to claim damages.
Now, what do you think is Peter's agenda here? What do you think? He just wants to get 100% control of the company and then start selling? What's good? Because obviously, without you, the company can't live. You are still, the core brain, right, and really the face of the company, along with influencers. Peter can't operate. What's his agenda here, you think?
Right. So, looking at the facts, looking at the emails, looking at the recorded conversations, his threats, it's either one of two things. He either wanted 1.2 million, 1.3 million over the 900K that was left open from the credit line. So he wanted to get his money back plus 300K. So basically make 300K in a year. He's threatening to seize everything and then force me to sell my shares to him for €1. And that's a statement that he made to be clear. So it was either take the entire company and then hold me in a position where I would have to somehow work for him or profit in this way in a year.
Do you see, outside of the courts, do you see any way to resolve the situation amicably outside of the court, or just create a deal so you can at least keep the company going forward with Peter? So
here's the other very, very important fact that Peter liked to admit from his interview with Kenny Keogh. I made him 3 offers from other investors to buy him out for 1.2, to buy him out for 1 million, and to buy the stock and the IP for 945, which would have got him all his money back. He did not accept anything because he didn't believe it. We have all the emails, all the correspondence with these possible investors. He even seized the third-party bank accounts of my lawyer, thinking that somehow I was funneling money out of the company and that I was going to buy him out with his own money. So he has a very illusioned image of me and what I've been doing. He had the offer to get bought out by investors, and I have all the documentation, and they will make an interview if necessary, and everything. So he was very much trying to force me into getting the most out of the deal, not realizing how intelligent I am and my legal team, that I had recorded all the meetings that we were in without him knowing. You know, it's very difficult to do business with somebody if they're telling you, yes, we're going to do this, you know, by mouth, and then they put three different in an email or a contract. So he's going to have a very difficult time proving to the judge that there was any mismanagement. He's going to have a very, very difficult time trying to convince the judge that I did not make the biggest effort to get him his back before the 13th of December. So you say that I can take it back, but I have 3-4 options investors were waiting for confirmation. He just wanted to make it impossible.
How do you, I want to ask you a couple of other things, you know, in the fitness industry, but how did you feel about Kenny's interview? Because Kenny's obviously a blogger. He has an opinion on things, right? So he started off the video by saying that you're not natural, you claim to be natural, and then he led into the whole Peter conversation. How did you feel about that video segment from Kenny and his whole thing on that?
So Kenny obviously builds his subscriptions and followers off of, you know, feeding off of dramatic situations in the industry. I have very little respect for that, to be honest. What I do have respect for is how he took a video. If you watch the original video where I talk about steroids and Natty, he cut out little segments, finishing the sentence to portray me as lying. So he wanted to show me as a liar before he showed the Peter interview. But if you watch that full YouTube video that I made, you know, essentially it's about when somebody asks me, am I natural or not? First, I ask them what is their experience, because I want to protect the young kids that, you know, are just starting in the gym. If I tell them I'm competing in the IFB and I'm using this, this, and this, and this, they're going to hurt themselves. So I adjust my advice depending on the experience of the person I'm speaking to. And also when somebody is going into that question, you know, if they want to, you know, basically put in this box where you have your physique because you're using, they're going to anyway. So if you watch that video, it's not about me claiming natty. It's not about me claiming to use steroids. If I'm going to compete, you know, my coach now, Peter Versluis, he said it himself. My grandma claims to be a virgin once. Is she a liar? You know, it's not about lying to people. If you see what I've done, I don't do any online coaching. You know, I make my money different ways. So I'm not lying to anybody about what I'm doing. I do it for myself. And if you are, you know, at the experience level where I feel you can get the advice that you want, then I will give that advice. But if you're not, I'm not going to. You know, that was that point of that video that Kenny cut these little pieces out to portray me as a liar before his interview. And of course, I messaged Kenny. I can show you the screenshots. I messaged Kenny actually before he posted that video. I have the Instagram DM asking him to speak to me. I did not get the opportunity to give my side of the story to him. So what do I think about that? Then it's just a play on trying to get. If you're not going to ask both sides of the story, then you're not really, you know, posting something that can be respected. If that answers your question.